a massive event here, right? International Fight Week, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I mean, do moments like this like still bring something extra special inside, or is this just the job and this is just, another day at work for you?
It goes back and forth. Sometimes it's like, oh, just another day. But I've been trying to do a lot of like reflecting and enjoying the moment. And so I've been enjoying this camp, been enjoying this week, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to perform in front of the fans. I feel very honored and blessed to be in this position.
Very nice. Andre Fili is an opponent. When it was announced, I think a lot of people said this is going to be a great fight. I guess what were your initial thoughts when that was named given to you?
Well, it was a good one for me because all my friends and family and coaches are like, can you stop fighting 20-year-old guys that are so hungry and trying to make a name off you? And I'm like, I don't pick who I'm fighting. They just say, hey, you want to fight this guy? I'm like, sure. And when I got Andre, he's been around for a long time. Got a lot of respect for him. I like him. And so, yeah, I was like, at least now everyone's happy with this matchup. So I think it's a real treat for the fans. And, yeah, it's exciting.
Did you guys cross paths much in California or in fight scenes? I mean, you guys have both been around for a long time. Have y'all come across each other much?
We've hung out at a couple of UFC events, quite a while ago. And, I saw him right after he won 2 fights ago and said congrats. And he talked to my kids for a little bit. So that was really cool. But, yeah, like I said, we've always stayed cool, but never trained together. And like I said, a lot of respect. And I'm sure we both want to go out there and put on a good show.
I would say stylistically, it looks like on paper it should be a battle and a good show. Is that the type of fight that you are expecting here?
Well, yeah, especially at this point in my career, I'm trying to have fun, I know that when I'm out there having fun, I have my best performances, and that's really what I'm trying to do is have great performances. I think I've solidified myself, in as a fan favorite and people love to watch fight, and at this point it's just icing on the cake.
You talked about kind of savoring the moment, reflecting, enjoying it. That's usually things that people try to do when they realize they're getting near the end. Is that part of that, is realizing I can't do this forever, so let me soak in while I'm still doing it?
Yeah, and I've been on that wavelength for a little while. I'm in the mindset of this is the last chapter, not the last fight. And so I don't know, what's next. I take every fight, like it's my last. So, a lot of me thought that my last fight was my last because I was dealing with some back issues for years and years. I had back surgery, and I feel so much better and got new life into me. Dr. Galakny, shout out to him. Anybody that's going to get back surgery, go see this guy. He's a genius. I was back to training within six weeks, and everyone's like, man, you look better than you have in the last 4 or 5 years. So it definitely breathed some new life into my career, and take it one fight at a time.
You think maybe that extended though, when you thought the expiration was?
Oh, for sure. Definitely gave me more opportunities mentally, and you kind of look for little things here and there. And for me, having my fight team and the team I manage and coach, Bloodline, if you guys know, they mean a lot to me, and they've been able to watch me train for this fight and get ready, and it's been really cool to kind of flip the script and have the guys I've been coaching turn around and help coach me and get me ready and me lead by example.
That's awesome, man. Last thing for me, see no way that this fight disappoints. Looks like it's going to be amazing. What do you want? You said, I don't know what's next, but are there things you want to do? Like, hey, man, I just want to make sure every fight I have is like an exciting fight, a fight of the night type thing. Are there names, places? Like, what do you still have to check off the list at your point in your career?
Well, fighting in front of a crowd was one of them. When I was, knowing that, I'm getting up there in age, all that. Fighting in front of a crowd was one of them. Me and my wife will go to the big events, New York, T-Mobile, Miami. And then I was like, man, I do miss that because I've been fighting at the Apex for a while, which is cool. But I knew that I needed to do that. I think fighting in my hometown in Palm Springs, being able to bring the UFC back there would be exciting. but yeah, at this point in my career, I just need to be excited. I mean, I think even a fight in Korea would be pretty cool. I think the way that since fighting Duo Choi, the way my fan base has grown there, I'm really appreciative. So yeah, just anything that would excite me.
Cub, over here. Kind of going off of that, did you ever talk to the UFC, like, why do you keep putting me in the Apex, considering, you are a name and you have been doing this for so long? Like, why wouldn't fans want to watch me fight?
No, I just would always accept my place, on the card. I mean, one time, I think when I fought Kawajiri, I was in the middle of the card, and then a fight fell off, and they bumped me to co-main event. And then an hour later, they bumped me to the Fight Pass prelims. And I went on the social media and was like, hey, download Fight Pass, sign up. And they were super thankful for that. So I never try to act like I'm bigger than who I am. Like, I just come to fight. I'm not trying to cause a stink. Wherever you place me, I'm cool with that. If you put me on the middle card, I'm cool with that. If you put me at the Apex, whatever. I'm just going to fight. That's my job.
Kind of going off of that a bit, your name made a little bit of headlines not too long ago when you had that kind of Twitter issue with Joaquin Buckley, but it kind of led to a lot of fellow fighters coming out and kind of sharing their favorite memories of you, defending you against him. So I guess, what did you make of, we don't have to get into what he said, but like just the amount of your fellow fighters that came out and, were kind of praising you on social media?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Because, like I said, my whole career has always been like, oh, he never won a title, so how good was he? It's like, man, it's like the amount of Hall of Famers and champions I fought. I've never backed down from a fight, and so I think it's silly. And the reason the whole thing started is I was defending some of the OGs in the game, and it makes me sound even older, but for me, I feel like it's my place to make sure the young fighters respect the OGs of the game, learn the history, like you need to know where this sport even started, like understand the history, who's who, show respect of the people who did it before you. And I just think that as a martial artist, you should do that. And to say something silly about somebody, I think is out of place.
Do you guys have a little bit of a camaraderie between all the WEC guys? Because there's not too many of you left in the UFC these days.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that was cool about the WEC is, we didn't get the respect. People always were like, oh, you guys are cool, but you're not the UFC. And we're like, we are. we're just the little guys, so we always had this chip on our shoulder. And when we got absorbed into the UFC, and the 55ers are the ones that really got to show, Cowboy and Anthony Pettis and all the guys that went over and did really well. It was like, yeah, see, we were that good all along. So we always had a chip on our shoulder. And for me, I feel like that was a blessing. It was like we got a easier version of all the hype and everything, and then we came over like ready to prove it. And it was no difference backstage other than just more media attention and stuff like that. So we definitely had that chip, and we definitely feel like a brotherhood.
Is it a trip at all? Because I think there was a generation of fighters that watched the WEC, and especially the smaller guys that say like, oh, I saw Faber and Mike Brown and Aldo and all these guys in the WEC. And now there's this generation that they didn't start watching MMA till Jose Aldo fought Conor McGregor, and they view him as the guy that lost to Conor, not Jose Aldo, the WEC champion.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's a little sad that you don't know the history and look at what a great champion Jose Aldo was. I got so much respect for him, and he always spoke out for fighters, and tried to level up everybody, which I appreciate. So yeah, I try to get everybody to know the history of the sport and really understand who paved the way for you, and to me that's important.
And last one for me, can I just get your thoughts on the main event between Alex and Yuri?
I love the fight. I really wish it wasn't short notice, as a fight fan, but I love that fight. I think it's two warriors that have very different approaches to the sport, and that's what this sport is all about. It's about, this style versus that style, and mentality and toughness, and who can make adjustments on the fly, and that's the beauty of it. And so I'm looking forward to the fight.
Hey, Cub, right here. Cub, have seen you a lot on the LFA broadcast and doing that work on the microphone. Can you just talk about how that's impacted your life and your career as maybe you think about right now and when you hang them up?
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying that, because I think one false narrative about me has always been that I'm just kind of scrappy and tough, and that I'm not smart. And I feel like I'm actually very technical, and I kind of make it look wild when I'm being very strategic in there. So I feel like when people hear me talk about fighting, they see that I'm more than just like a scrappy kid, that I've actually put tons and tons and tons of thought into this. And so that's been quite an enjoyment for me. And just kind of, I see it as, the next step when I can't fight anymore. It's going to help me fill that void. The same with coaching and managing fighters. I have all this knowledge of succeeding and failing at the highest level that really is not going to translate into a lot of other things. And the ability to give that back to the next generation of fighters is really, it fills a void for me that I know will be there when I can't fight myself anymore.
And then this may sound like a bit of a redundant question, but I mean it very seriously. Can you just speak to the impact of what the UFC as a brand has meant to you? Because besides being a fighter, we see you at so many big events. You could be spotted in the crowd at almost every pay-per-view, and there's a lot of them. Obviously, as a teammate and managing fighters, I mean, what does it mean? What impact has it had on your life to just be a part of this whole thing?
It literally saved my life. I was not doing well in life. I was lost, and this sport gave me structure, and it humbled me, and it gave me direction, and it's taught me many life lessons. And yeah, I wouldn't be who I am today without this sport. And to me, it's the purest sport. There's no team. It's just one-on-one. You got nobody to blame but yourself, and it's raw and real, and it's beautiful, and it's violent, and it's all those things into one. So when I saw the sport and realized that it wasn't as big as it should be in the very beginning, before it was on TV, before The Ultimate Fighter, I knew that it was going to be big if it got the chance, if people got the chance to look at it and understand it a little better. And so I'm very proud to be a part of it, and I'm most proud that all the guys that I looked up to when I first got in the sport, like the Big Nogueiras, Vitor Belfords, Josh Barnett, Rampage, all these guys that I was watching when I first got into it, have all kind of given me that, hey, you're one of us moment that's made me feel like I've made it.
Thank you.
About, I don't know if we're on, there we go. I mentioned quite a bit about knowing the history of the sport and respecting that. How much do you pay attention to the generation kind of behind you and seeing, have you kept your eye on any one fighter or couple in particular that you see that could have longevity and actually kind of speak to the idea that you have who understand the history of the sport in that way?
Past fighters?
No. The ones in the generation after you.
Oh, that are still in it?
You're still in it.
I am still in it. Yeah, I don't know of too many, because I don't get to have those kind of conversations with everybody. But I hope people are paying attention and learning, because I think it's important. But at the same time, it's crazy how fast this sport is evolving, and you have to stay current, and you have to learn from the past, but you also have to be very present in the present, because it's evolving so fast. I feel like I've been telling people this for a while. I learn more from my students and the guys under me than any coach right now, because the game's evolving that fast. If you're not watching the UFC every week and in the gym, you're going to be a dinosaur in 3 years. So I feel very fortunate that I stay around the 20-year-olds and up and coming guys, and that's what's kept me youthful and kept me in the sport.
Just kind of staying with that, recently Fight Inc. debuted on Roku, and it went through some of the history of UFC and actually really paid attention to matchmaking. How much do you as a fighter pay attention to the growth of the organization, and kind of like how does that impact you that the business has changed so much since you became a fighter?
Well, it affects us a lot. I mean, obviously, I'm fighting, I'm coaching and managing, so I have to pay attention to it a lot. I love that it's becoming more stable across the board and that it keeps growing. I think that's going to be better and better. So the way I see it is that's more fighters that are going to be able to, retire comfortably when they're done fighting. One thing I've seen a lot of is a lot of fighters that just made a lot of poor choices and they get cut from the UFC and maybe their morale is a little low, and that's something that I really try to teach my guys is like how to prepare for the future, how to build off your success.
Cub, kind of curious about how the emotions are this week, considering 2 years ago you went into the Hall of Fame. It'll be your first time competing back in T-Mobile since accepting the award there.
I already know I'm going to be super emotional. I can't hide it. It's just I'm somebody that always bottles things up. And whenever I compete, there's so much on the line and so much pressure you put on yourself, and people, wanting you to do good, that you want to do good, and you're just afraid of having a bad performance. That's always the issue. And you put so much hard work into it, you just want to go out there and have a great performance. So emotions are always high. I know having the crowd is going to really impact that, and then being back at the T-Mobile since my Hall of Fame induction is going to feel special. And I'm excited to go out there and fight freely and know that I've cemented myself and my legacy in this sport. And at the end of the day, I get to go out there and just have fun.
You've mentioned fun and you mentioned pressure. We ask everybody that goes up there about different types of pressure. You've been in this sport for so long. Does the pressure ever change?
I think it's gotten harder, honestly, because, I try to tell people when I was 20 and I was broke and I had nothing, I was in my mind like, I'm willing to die in there. I got nothing, And now, sorry, I have a nice life. I have all these things. I have, I've maintained a certain level of greatness in the sport, and hasn't always been that great, but I've always had exciting fights, so people expect that of me now. I didn't have expectations when I was younger, and so for me to have to live up to that, I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I believe that pressure is good. You just can't let it break you. You let it, I call it, it could cripple you, or it could be your superpower. That pressure that when you're on fight night, if you absorb it, it's a superpower. And that's the whole goal, is to make it a superpower, not cripple you.
Cub, right here. Talk about the UFC Hall of Fame. Another Hall of Fame that you're in is the Jackson Wink Hall of Fame, and as is Andre Arlovsky and Michelle Watterson, who are all on this card. I guess, what does it mean to you to be fighting alongside them on Saturday and, I guess, represent that gym, which I know you guys have been away from for a while now, but still?
Yeah, and I think we're sharing a locker room, which is going to be pretty cool. Andre's somebody that I've been watching forever, and to see people like him and Clay Guida still going, it's like, why does everyone keep asking me about my age, But they're an inspiration. And then Michelle, I've been around her for a lot of her journey, so it's really cool to watch. I've seen these guys and girls at their highest and at their lowest, and so you really get to know people around those times. And yeah, it's definitely going to feel special, and I know that nerves are going to be heightened at that time, and I think it's going to make for all of us to have good performances.
Cub, real quick, sorry. I know Conor McGregor departs the card and they reshuffle it the way that they did. You can argue that it's more competitive and more interesting maybe at the top of the card now without him. I guess how would you assess the card that they were able to put together at the top, and what, how do you think that could potentially just play out on Saturday?
I mean, obviously everyone wants to see Conor fight, and it's unfortunate. But I mean, honestly, I feel like the card got better. Don't want people saying I'm hating. I think it did. But ultimately, fans wanted to see him fight. I hope he does come back and healthy. But yeah, I think the card is amazing, and they do such a good job. That's why the sport does so well, is that they can put together these big fights on the fly, and fighters are always willing to step up, and it's pretty cool to see. I'm just glad that they didn't ask me to fight on short notice. Good. All right, thanks, guys.